Ethan received a transfer order. At first, he came back frequently, but lately, his attitude has been somewhat cold. On Mike's birthday, we had planned to go to the amusement park, but I received a message saying he had to work. Listening to Mike's wish to see her dad, we went to visit Ethan's new location and found him holding an unfamiliar child, looking very close with a woman. It was clearly a family scene. Ethan noticed me and froze, his face turning pale. I averted my eyes and spoke. "Sorry to intrude on your happiness." "No! There's a deep reason for this." Ethan flustered. "My mom introduced her to me. She said Mia is more suitable for me than you. I couldn't refuse." "So, you were hanging out with them on Mike's birthday? Don't joke with me." "What? Today is her birthday?" Ethan's clueless expression made me despise him deeply. "Let's go home, Mike." I was boiling with anger. This won't end here. My MIL and Ethan, remember this. I am Ally, a full-time working housewife. Ethan and I met again at work 5 years ago, after knowing each other from a college club, and eventually got married. Ethan, with his handsome features and gentle demeanor, was always surrounded by friends in college. Back then, Ethan was unattainable, someone you couldn't casually talk to. So when Ethan, who worked at the headquarters of the same company, came to support my department, my heart skipped a beat. I remember being thrilled when we were assigned to the same team. We eventually grew close, dated, and got married. But our happy married life ended abruptly. After losing his father, Ethan continued to live with his mother even after getting a job, as he was concerned about her. Even after we started our newlywed life in the condo I bought when I was single, he frequently visited his mother for shopping and chats. Feeling uneasy, I asked Ethan. "Ethan, are you thinking about living with your mother someday?" Ethan waved his hand with a smile. "No way, not at all. Mom likes her freedom, and she doesn't intend to live with us." "Really?" Ethan continued, reassuring me. "I gave her a spare key though. She said she wanted to come over anytime she liked." What? Is that a problem?" Ethan asked, puzzled. "Why would you do something like that?" "Is it bad? It's my room, isn't it?" "It's in my name. I bought it with my grandmother's inheritance." "Well, it doesn't matter, does it?" Ethan grumbled, looking annoyed. I was troubled. Now I can't ask for the key back. I could easily foresee what would happen next. And sure enough, my MIL started visiting without notice. After getting married, Ethan returned to work at the headquarters, which often meant he came home later than me, who worked at a branch office. Knowing this, my MIL would drop by around the time I got home. When I dragged myself home exhausted and saw her car in the parking lot, my fatigue would double. "Ally, welcome home. You work so hard, don't you?" "Good evening." I responded with a forced smile to my MIL, who was lounging on the living room sofa like she owned the place. "Dinner is ready. Let's eat together when Ethan gets back." "Okay." "Huh? I made meatballs and a Chinese salad, didn't I?" When I asked, she replied with a smile. "Oh, I threw those away. They looked unappetizing." Panicking, I checked the trash and found the dinner I had woken up at 4:30 a.m. to make had been tossed. Not again. I felt disheartened. You know, feeding Ethan something made hours ago is unsanitary. Freshly cooked is best. Holding back my anger, I spoke to her. "I've asked you before, please let me know if you're coming by the day before. It wastes time and ingredients." "That's impossible. Sometimes I just suddenly want to see Ethan." She twisted her body coyly. "Besides, Ethan loves my cooking. It's a nice surprise, isn't it?" Her brazen attitude made me lose the will to argue further. Of course, Ethan had no idea my cooking was being thrown out. When he came home, my MIL would eagerly bring dishes to the table and watch as he ate. "How's the meat and potatoes today?" "Delicious. I could eat endless amounts of the asparagus and pumpkin soup too." "See? Have as much as you want." She'd glance at me with a triumphant look. She was clearly competing with me. I felt frustrated watching Ethan eat without a care. Once, I confided in my sister-in-law. She was kind and considerate of me, having noticed how my MIL treated me coldly since our marriage. "I'm sorry, my mom is difficult, isn't she? She's always adored Ethan. If she's causing you trouble, please talk to me." She whispered this to me during the after-party of our wedding reception. So I sometimes vented to her over meals. Luckily, I got pregnant soon after marriage, so my MIL couldn't criticize me about that. However, her interference only intensified. For instance, when I was bedridden with morning sickness, she'd visit and accuse me of being lazy. "Feeling nauseous from morning sickness? That's all in your head. I was perfectly fine. You're being dramatic." She'd start with comments like that and then criticize me for not cleaning well or neglecting ironing. "Even if you're unwell, you should do the housework perfectly. Ethan is supporting you, right?" "No, I work full-time too, and we share the chores. Our salaries are almost the same." I'd gently protest while suppressing nausea. My MIL would glare at me. "You're making him do housework? Why did you get married then? It's ridiculous." No matter how much I explained, it was pointless. Eventually, I pretended to handle all the housework in front of her. Also, deliberately, I think, she cooked dishes with strong smells or fried food every day. Garlic-heavy steak, fried chicken, pork cutlets, and so on. Unable to stand the smell of oil filling the house, I'd spend a while in the bathroom throwing up. When I returned, she'd tearfully accuse me. "Ally, how awful. Do you hate my cooking so much you have to throw up? I know tastes change during pregnancy, but this is too much." No. The smell of oil makes me nauseous. Even after explaining, Ethan would end up blaming me too. "You should be able to eat even with morning sickness. It's disrespectful when mom went to the trouble of making it for you." His words left me stunned. I realized that despite seeming kind, he lacked empathy. Even after my morning sickness subsided, my MIL would come over every day to cook dinner under the pretense of supporting me. She'd make an enormous amount each time and insist I eat it all. "You need to eat for 3, you know." No, the doctor advised me not to gain too much weight. I'm naturally a light eater, and I need to avoid greasy foods. When I gently refused, she'd dramatically lament. "How terrible! I'm just thinking of your health. What's wrong with having fried food every day?" Naturally, Ethan sided with her. "Mom is looking out for you in her own way. Why can't you understand? She's my mother, so be a little more respectful." Realizing I couldn't reason with them, I took drastic measures. I asked my doctor to write a note in my maternity record. Finally, my MIL stopped her food onslaught. After much conflict, our baby was born safely. Despite asking Ethan not to invite her, my MIL rushed to my side right after the birth, overjoyed. My parents, who had flown in, were also there, but my MIL still managed to criticize me. "What an ugly, wrinkled baby. Looks like a monkey. Not cute at all." She dismissed the baby indifferently while Ethan laughed. My parents were shocked. As Ethan escorted her to the door, my mom voiced her concern. "She's quite outspoken, isn't she? Are you all right, Ally?" My sister-in-law is kind and supportive. I talk to her a lot. I forced a smile and replied. "Don't push yourself too hard." "Thanks, I won't." I felt terrible for worrying my parents, who lived far away. While most grandparents become more involved after the birth of a grandchild, our situation was the opposite. They became more distant. As our son Mike grew, he began to resemble me more, with pale skin, wide eyes, and curly hair. My MIL didn't like this and complained every time she saw him. "That hair is such a mess. He looks sickly with that pale skin. He doesn't look like Ethan at all. Are you sure he's his child?" "Mom." Finally, Ethan reprimanded her. But she showed no intention of changing her attitude. When we talked about baby's first milestones and holidays, she'd dismissively say, "Do whatever you want." Even during holidays, when we visited with Mike, she'd only fuss over Ethan and ignore Mike. She'd look annoyed when Mike approached her, and she showed no joy when he called her grandma. "Ethan, why doesn't your mom show any affection for Mike? He's her grandchild." When I voiced my sadness, Ethan replied as if it were obvious. "Because he's the child of her daughter-in-law, not her daughter. That's just how it is." I understood, but I still wished she'd show some affection for Mike, even if it was just superficial. Ethan never belittled my income, and he followed our agreement to share the chores. Without my MIL's interference, we got along well. When Mike turned 2, Ethan was transferred to a different region. I considered going with him, but finding a full-time job while raising a small child would be extremely difficult. And there were no vacancies at Ethan's new workplace. When we visited his parents' house and discussed it, my MIL suggested that Ethan go alone. "He'll be back in 5 years, right? Then Ethan can go by himself." I was surprised and looked at her. I expected her to say that a wife should follow her husband, so this was unexpected. "Ally, you have a job too. It would be a waste to throw away the career you've built." "Yes, that's true. But Ethan, you're not good at cooking, right?" "Don't worry, Ally. There are grocery stores and convenience stores nearby, so I can get prepared meals. And I can eat lunch at the company cafeteria. I'll manage." He said this with a smile, so we settled on the idea of him going alone. Ethan frequently came back, taking Mike to the park and reading bedtime stories, maintaining active communication. On weekends, I also took Mike to visit Ethan's new place, cooked meals, and tried to spend quality family time together. About 6 months later, Ethan's attitude suddenly became distant. Even when he came home, he never put down his phone and only gave half-hearted responses to Mike. When Mike asked to play trains, Ethan would hand him a tablet to watch videos while he smiled at his phone. "Is Dad tired from work? I was looking forward to playing with him." Seeing Mike so sad broke my heart. After putting Mike to bed, I confronted Ethan, who uncharacteristically pushed back. "Let me relax when I get home. If you keep complaining, I won't come back at all." "Don't say that. Mike was so excited to play with you," I pleaded, but Ethan made a face and sighed. Fine. I'll play with him next time I come back. Is that okay?" His dismissive tone angered me, but I swallowed my feelings because I couldn't risk him not coming back. This pattern repeated over a year, leading to disappointment for both Mike and me. Then I got a message from Ethan. "Sorry. I can't come tomorrow." Tomorrow was Mike's 4th birthday. We had planned a trip to the amusement park. "Is something wrong?" I asked, worried, and received an apologetic emoji in response. "I have to work tomorrow. I won't be back until the evening." "If it's work, I understand. We can celebrate another time," I replied through the messaging app. On the way back from picking up Mike from daycare, I told him the news, and he looked crestfallen. "I just wanted to see Dad, even for a moment." His almost tearful expression tore at my heart. "If you don't mind not playing, we can go see him." When I suggested this, Mike's face lit up. "Really? We'll see him and chat for a bit, then come back." Yay! Mike's joy made me smile. Yes, we'd surprise him by showing up. If we timed it right, we'd catch him after work. Even distant Ethan would smile when he saw Mike waiting in front of his apartment. Holding back my excitement, I took Mike and boarded the train. We took a train to the nearest station, and I held Mike's hand as we walked to Ethan's apartment. At dusk, while playing in the park in front of the building, I heard Ethan's voice from around the corner. "Mike, Dad's here." "Really?" We stepped out onto the sidewalk and froze. Ethan was carrying a boy around 1 year old. Next to him was a woman who seemed to be the boy's mother. "Daddy, I'm hungry." "Yeah, I'm starving. Let's have Mom's hamburgers when we get home." "Okay." The 3 of them, wearing matching character hats from a famous theme park, looked unmistakably like a family. When Ethan noticed me, he turned pale and stopped in his tracks. The woman beside him also saw me and gasped. She seemed to know that Ethan had a wife and child. A heavy silence hung between us. After a moment, I broke the silence. "So, you've been having fun here. Sorry to intrude on your happiness." "It's not what it looks like. There's a deep reason," Ethan stammered. "My mom introduced me to her. She said Mia was more suitable for me than you. I couldn't refuse." "So you skipped Mike's birthday celebration to go out with them? Don't joke with me." "What? Today is his birthday?" Ethan's clueless expression made me despise him. "Let's go, Mike." I took Mike's hand and started walking back to the station. I was so angry I felt like I was losing my mind. Cheating, having a secret child, and skipping his child's birthday to go out with his mistress and her child. I was seething with rage. Enough. I'll raise Mike on my own. But I won't let this go. My MIL and Ethan will pay for this. "Mom, who was that child Dad was holding?" "Maybe a friend's kid." I couldn't tell Mike the truth on the train ride back, so I answered vaguely with a forced smile. "But that kid called him Dad." "That's weird." Mike tilted his head in confusion, and it took all my strength not to cry. How hurt would this innocent child be if he knew the truth? At the station, I bought 2 boxed lunches and 2 teas for the train ride. I couldn't eat and ended up throwing the leftovers and the bottles in the trash. Back home, after putting Mike to bed, I went to the living room. As my pent-up emotions were released, tears poured out. I closed the door so I wouldn't wake Mike and cried my heart out. I'd heard stories of husbands cheating while on temporary assignments, but I never thought it would happen to us. And the reason for his affair? My mom suggested it. It made no sense. Unable to sleep, I went to the city office during my lunch break the next day to get divorce papers and sign them immediately. "I'll handle the alimony and child support claims with a lawyer later." I added a note and sent it to Ethan. My application for leave was approved, so I took paid time off and got an estimate for moving. I dropped Mike off at daycare, packed our things into boxes, and moved to a weekly rental apartment as a temporary place until I found a new one. Ethan bombarded me with messages, but I ignored them all. They were just excuses. He didn't even bother to apologize. He kept calling, but the voicemails were full of excuses too. I was lonely. It's hard to refuse Mom's requests. You understand, right? I never intended to have a child with her. 6 months after I started ignoring Ethan's attempts to contact me, the doorbell rang while I was playing with Mike and his toy cars. When I checked the intercom screen, there stood Ethan, teary-eyed. The other day, I told my sister-in-law about what happened. Last night, she sent a message saying she had given Ethan my new address, so I was expecting him soon. Ethan's face on the screen was a mess of tears and snot, ruining his handsome features. When I let him in, he clung to me, pleading tearfully. "Please, pay the mortgage. If you don't, we won't have a house to live in when I return to headquarters." "That's tough," I replied, brushing off his hand. Ethan stared at me with bloodshot eyes and raised his voice. "Don't talk like it's someone else's problem. We got a foreclosure notice. They said if we don't pay, they'll demand the full amount immediately, and I can't handle that." He dropped to his knees, wiping his tears with the back of his hand. "I was planning to invite Mom to live with us, and now that's ruined." "Oh, so much for not planning to live with her," I said, shrugging. "It's not sudden. You've had many notices before." "I thought you would pay it, so I ignored them." "Then it's your fault," I said coldly. Ethan lashed out. "Somehow the title is in my name, and there's no way I can pay $2,000 a month on my salary. This is crazy." Though it was the natural course of events, Ethan whined like a child. "There was no other way," I explained calmly. "I could have kicked you out, but your mom has a spare key, so I didn't want to. If you want to keep living there, pay the mortgage. If not, move to another apartment." I promised Mia we'd live in a luxury condo when I returned to headquarters. I can't afford that on my salary. He mumbled, scratching the back of his head. He was a pushover, vain, and a coward, a difficult personality to deal with. Please, ally. Just keep paying the mortgage like before. Ethan pleaded with me. You have the inheritance from your grandma, right? You can easily pay the mortgage. Help me out, we're married. No way. I shouted. Glaring at him with intense anger, I continued. After cheating and having a child, you want me to pay the mortgage so you can live with your mistress? How selfish can you be? I told you, I just listened to my mom. The child was an accident. It's not my fault. Ethan pouted and scratched his head. You know, your defiant attitude is why mom hates you. Understand? Shut up. Get out. I pushed Ethan out of the apartment and closed the door. Fine, I'll tell Mia the truth and sell the condo. You're so cheap, ally. Ethan cursed as he left. The following weekend, I invited Ethan, his mother, and Mia to the condo. I had something important to discuss. When they arrived, his mother and Mia looked around the apartment, mocking it. What a shabby place. Mia, don't say that out loud, even if it's true. Hey, stop it. Ignoring their laughter, I turned to Ethan. By the way, I'm glad we managed to sell the condo we lived in. Paying $2,000 a month was tough. I was thinking of buying it back if necessary. Hearing this, his mother and Mia were stunned. So he hadn't told them. What? I thought Ethan was paying for it. No, it's because Ally has an inheritance. Oh, right. You married her for the inheritance. Mia sneered. Did you know? Ethan only married you because of the inheritance. Don't think it was because of your charm. I shifted my gaze from Mia to Ethan. Seeing him avoid my eyes confirmed it. I wasn't hurt anymore. My opinion of Ethan had just hit rock bottom. So, why did you call us here? Mia and Ethan are busy people, unlike you. Ethan should know why. You've received the certified mail about the alimony and child support, right? Ethan's face twitched. Oh, that? 6 months have passed since the divorce, and you've been dodging the issue. Even when I arrange meetings, you don't show up. I'll be filing a civil lawsuit soon. Despite my stern words, Ethan forced a smile. I'm negotiating the amount with my lawyer. Just wait a bit longer. Is that all? No, let's get to the main point. I fixed my gaze on my MIL, who yawned boredly, and asked sternly. I heard you met Mia through your mom. Is that true? My MIL raised her chin and replied nonchalantly. Yes, it's true. Why did you do that? Because I don't like you, obviously. She spat out the words with a twisted expression. Although I expected this answer, the directness still stung. Ignoring my feelings, she continued her tirade. Your child is as ugly as you, doesn't warm up to me, and isn't cute at all. Of course not, you shoo him away like a stray dog when he tries to talk to you. She ignored my protest and smirked at Mia. When Ethan got friendly with Mia at his new workplace, I thought she was a better match for him. Ethan is so wonderful, I didn't mind that he had a wife and child. Ethan laughed nervously, but quickly stopped when he met my eyes. I exhaled deeply and murmured with frustration. Ethan is at fault for having an affair, but encouraging your son to cheat, how is that as a parent? Why not? If I don't like the wife, it's natural to want a different one. She spoke as if it were the most logical thing. But I told him to get divorced quickly, and he hesitated because of Mike. She sighed dramatically. I began to question my own sanity. Then Mia, emboldened, offered her opinion smugly. It's weird to make your husband live alone. You should have moved with him. Exactly. Ethan leaned forward, siding with them. It's Ally's fault for not coming with me. A wife should quit her job and follow her husband. Men are sensitive, you know. It's natural to cheat when left alone. I was speechless. I couldn't believe Ethan had such outdated views. Your mom told me not to go, saying it would be a waste to lose my career. She was testing your loyalty. Any normal wife would follow her husband. Of course, I'd go with him. Mia grinned. Their smug faces made my blood boil. We're destined to be together, Ethan and I. Huh. I thought your ex-husband was supposed to be that. I presented a photo, and Mia's smile vanished. You seem pretty close. Meeting him while cheating on Ethan, huh? What? Ethan and his mother looked flustered. Mia, you were divorced? You told me you were single. Ethan and his mother turned pale as they examined the photo I had handed over. It showed Mia and a man snuggling close, entering a hotel. Mia frantically explained. This was just when I felt sick while shopping with a friend. We only went to the hotel to rest, I swear. There's no proof we had a physical relationship. There wasn't any proof, but her desperate, high-pitched voice already sounded like an admission of guilt. That child, you're sure it's Ethan's, right? Did you get a DNA test? Mia flinched. No need for that. Of course, he's Ethan's child. Ethan suddenly remembered something. When we checked his blood type during a test, it was A. That's not a type that could come from us, but the nurse said it could change over time, so I was reassured. Seeing Mia tremble, Ethan sighed. We should get a DNA test done. Yes, Ethan. Mia froze. Then she turned her anger on me. Why do you have such a photo? This is a setup. It's real. I hired a detective. The door opened, and my sister-in-law appeared. Ethan and his mother gaped at her in shock. Why are you here? Sister! I heard everyone would be here today. After putting Mike to bed, I listened from the next room. She glared at Ethan and his mother before smiling at Mia. Long time no see. Since you ruined my engagement. You're Ethan's sister. Mia glared at her, furious. He ditched both of us and ran off. It's over. Maybe, but I still need to clean up the mess. My sister-in-law addressed Mia with an air of authority. You always want what others have. Pathetic. Crossing her arms, she turned to Ethan and their mother. And you too, being manipulated by this woman, it's shameful. You should treat Ally better. Ethan looked down, embarrassed, while his mother pouted and snapped back. Mia is better for Ethan. She's younger, prettier, and a better conversationalist. Her childish outburst was followed by a sudden realization. If that child isn't my grandchild, I've been giving money to a stranger's kid. What? You gave them money? Ethan and his sister confronted their mother. How much? Looking up at them, she confessed in a small voice. About $20,000. $20,000? I shouted in shock. Ethan and his sister recoiled in disbelief. You're kidding. No way. Ethan checked his phone, groaning. Mom, did you use my card without asking? I'm on a pension. I didn't have the money. I thought it was your child. Why didn't you tell me? I was told to keep it a secret from you. Ethan slumped over his phone, defeated. His sister, looking frustrated, ran her fingers through her long hair. Mia, having gathered her things, tried to sneak out. My sister-in-law called after her. You're not getting away. You'll pay for this and my compensation. Yes, we'll hire a lawyer. Get ready. Mia fled without a word. Ethan and their mother tried to leave, but my sister-in-law grabbed them and pulled them back in for hours of scolding. A DNA test later confirmed Mia's child wasn't Ethan's. Enraged, their mother squandered Ethan's salary, increasing their debt. Ethan, now burdened with his mother's debt, eventually begged me. Can't you drop the alimony and child support? Please. You work full-time, you'll manage without it. And could you share some of your inheritance? We're still family. I ended the call without listening. The audacity left me stunned. I had a lawyer send a letter threatening to garnish his wages, and finally, he paid. Ethan, tired of his mother's spending, distanced himself. His mother, missing him, caused a scene at his apartment, involving the police. Their relationship was beyond repair. Mia paid the compensation, borrowing to cover it. Burdened with debt, she left her child with her parents and worked around the clock. Having spent years freeloading off others, the consequences were severe. No longer plagued by Ethan or his mother, I lived peacefully. Mike, too young to understand divorce, was told we wouldn't live with his dad or see his grandmother again. He seemed fine, and I planned to explain when he started school. He doesn't seem to be lonely and is full of energy, which is a relief. Though I have cut ties with Ethan, Mike's relationship with his father remains intact. If Mike ever wants to see his dad, I'll let him. From now on, I'll focus on Mike's growth and be there for him every step of the way.